right, I think we should kick it off. People can join us and absolutely welcome to join us as they slowly come in. But let's make a start. Let's get the show on the road. Let's hear from our amazing Executive Awards, Teaching Awards winners from last year, hear a bit about their work and kind of hear about the stories behind these awards. It's a big thing for us, for our teaching community within CSU. So it's time to celebrate and really hear about the work that's going on. My name is Koshila Kumar. I am the Sub-Dean Academic Development within the Division of Learning and Teaching, and I'm also the Director of the Teaching Academy. So one of my one of the things I've been doing, I've been in the university 3 months now, and one of the things I've been doing is working on CS and putting this program together with your support, obviously with your contribution. So it is fantastic to be here now and to be part of the CS program today. So Lachlan, I would ask you whether you can please hit record for me. It might already be happening. Is that
done?
All done. Thank you so much. So you can see there's a team. We're tag teaming. There's a team of people behind the CS show. And I really want to thank everyone, including all of you, for participating and contributing and really making sure that, we are having these great conversations. So as I said, today is a chance to hear from our 2022 Executive Deans, Teaching Award winners, to hear about their stories, about their work, and to really understand where they've been taking it and so where to next. Just move on to the next screen, but I just want to start by acknowledging country. So the Division of Learning and Teaching acknowledges the transformative effect of education. Our impact leads to ever-improving educational outcomes, inspiring our students to create a world worth living in. We recognize the inclusive nature of First Nations educational practices and the innovative strategies that have ensured the continuing diversity of lands, waters, and peoples for millennia. We also acknowledge that in our practice, we are guided by the elders, past and present, of the country in which our campuses live: Wiradjuri, Biripi, Gundangara, and Ngunnawal. In the spirit of Injamara, Winan Naha, we recognize the depths of First Nations ways of being, ways of knowing, and ways of doing, inspiring our commitment in supporting staff and students in the wisdom of respectfully knowing how to live well in a world worth living in. So thank you, all of you, to contributing to this vision, I think, and to this statement, and to the ethos and the values behind this statement. So we are going to hear from 4 of our award recipients from last year. Ana Horta, we have Wendy De Luca joining us, Caroline, lovely to see you, and Ashad, I hope you're here. I haven't seen you, but there you are. I can see you now. Wonderful. So we've got all of you here, which is fantastic. That's a great start. So let's get the show on the road and hear from you. So I think, Ana, you're first. So you're a senior lecturer in spatial science, and we want to hear all about your work. We want to hear about, what you've done, and also potentially where you're going to take this work to next. So over to you, Ana, to share your work. And I know I have one slide here that I'm going to bring up so that you can talk to this and kind of take us through a narrative about your work. So over to you, Ana.
Thank you very much, Koshila. I'll try to do that in 5 minutes.
And I think the one thing sorry, Ana, before you start, we were meant to have 5 people speaking today, but unfortunately we only have 4, so we've had one person pull out. The good news, though, means that you don't have to feel so pressured around time. So I think I can afford to be quite generous this morning and perhaps give you 6 minutes. I won't be so much on the time, because talk to it, take the time you need, 6 minutes, and then we can kind of have that conversation again where you'll have some time to get questions and explain your work more. So over to you, Anne.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me well as well? Yes. Yeah, I suppose I'm just going to take this opportunity to share a little bit of my work to see if for everyone here today in this presentation, there's some linking points, people that have been doing the same work and they would like to collaborate with me. I'm fairly new to this sort of research in learning and teaching, so I'm just doing my, I wouldn't say my first steps, but I'm suddenly realizing that there's actually a lot of potential to stretch my research in geospatial science to this field. So if anyone in the room has the same intentions and they feel linked to what I'm going to say, I'll be more than happy to start that collaboration. So I also wanted to thank the faculty for this award, and basically to everyone that throughout almost now 10 years have encouraged me and helped me with my teaching. That's definitely an important thing to acknowledge. So this specific award, it reflects 8 years of dedication to a first-year subject. It's called Introduction to Geospatial Science. I teach on average 100 students on campus and online. They come from different backgrounds, different degrees, from environmental science, education, and emergency management. So I don't know if geospatial science means anything to you, but to students, it means nothing. So they come to this subject a bit intrigued, sometimes scared about what is it, and also why do they need to study it. So because it involves numbers, analytical thinking and technology, there's this common sense of fear to fail, so they don't want to get it wrong, and they also perceive it as a difficult subject to do in first year. It's also important that they link geospatial science to something that it will be useful to them in the future, in their future jobs. And I sort of I think I know how to do that in an easy manner. So it's very easy to find examples of how geospatial science is applied to their future jobs. But in terms of actually getting students engaged with the analytical thinking, the technology, it actually takes almost like daily support and encouragement through online meetings, through emails, but also and this is what I've worked out throughout this 8 years of teaching this subject, is that you need to work with them to identify what are those barriers to their understanding. So there's different strategies that you can apply. I started learning about using threshold concept theory and also using the inquiry-based activities through authentic learning to help them how to use technology to understand and apply the main learning concepts, but also in that sort of approach also to teach them how to fail. And telling them that it's actually okay to fail. We all fail. What is really important is that we understand what to learn from that failure. And a lot of science and technology subjects, that's where actually the power of learning resides. Learning how to fail, understanding why you failed, perhaps will help you to learn a lot more. So that's basically where my teaching comes from and where I base all this teaching. I think in terms of knowing if it worked or not, the progress rates in the subject have been quite good, always above 80%. So they do succeed. They start by being very anxious about the subject, then I suppose the majority of them do struggle through it, but then they're able to succeed. And I got throughout this 8 years a lot of lovely positive comments through the survey, but also through informal emails on how they actually enjoyed it. They feel accomplished, and they thought that it was actually something that's looked really scary at the start, ended up being a really nice experience, an interesting experience to them. And I suppose that's it, Koshila. I was trying to make it really stick to 5 minutes. Thank you so much for listening.
Wonderful. That is a great presentation. And I have made a couple of notes that I think we can hopefully pick this up in the Q&A. So teaching them how to fail, I'd love to hear about, how we can do that as educators. And also you mentioned threshold concept theory. So I think maybe that's something else that we could learn from you about what that is and potentially how that we could apply that to our own teaching potentially, or even to our own research. So Ana, a great start.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. All righty, let's move on to our next wonderful presenter. So Dr. Wendy De Luca from the School of Education. Wendy, I know you're here, and we are looking forward to hearing about your work and where you've taken it and sort of your reflections about where to from here. So let me bring up your slide. There you are. And Wendy, over to you.
Thank you very much, and hello everybody. It's nice to be presenting this morning. This time last year, I was actually in Nepal and was on a prac in a little town called Sinduli, and I zoomed in from there to accept the award. So it's nice to actually be here reporting about it. I work in the School of Education in the area of adult and vocational education. And most of the students that come into our program, and we have a range of programs that runs from associate degree through to master's degree. And most of them are people who currently work within the vocational education system. So, for example, they might be training officers in a government department, or TAFE teachers in any other states of Australia, or work for non-government organisations or private RTOs. So we have people with a really wide range of skills and experience, and many of them aren't local to any of our campuses. So we don't really see any of our students until graduation. And so this program's had a couple of great impacts. And one of those is that, there's that the greatest impact on me is that it's been an opportunity to interact with our students at a different level than online and through Interact. So I guess that's what I get out of it, is that I actually get to meet and work with face-to-face students. What do they do? Well, our program includes an opportunity for students to do a placement, a cultural, intercultural placement. And totally by accident, I ended up in Nepal in 2015 and just fell in love with the country and the people in Nepal, and met, again, totally by accident, met the man there in the middle of the photo with the topi, that's the little Nepali hat, and he is the principal of the Sinduli Community Technical Institute, and it's a little town in the south of Nepal. It's about 180 kilometres south of Kathmandu. And his community-based vocational education college runs a range of courses designed to keep young people in the local community and to keep skills in Nepal, because there's a big problem there with, skilled people migrating overseas. So they teach electricians, they teach plumbers, and they're about to set up, they teach agriculture, animal husbandry, and they're about to set up an enrolled nursing program. And for the last 5 years, with a bit of a hiatus for COVID, I've been going over there with our students, and we've been working with the students of the college as well as with the teachers of the college. And in the photo there, you can see the principal with some of the teachers at the technical college and with our students. And that was on the day of our arrival, with the beautiful flowers and the traditional arrival. And what do our students get out of it? Well, they say that they get, it's an adventure. It's a great way to punctuate. Many of them end their programs with the overseas experience. It's a great opportunity for them to see how vocational education happens in another country. They also say they appreciate the opportunity to explore a totally different culture than the one that many of them experience. Even those that work in multicultural settings here in Australia, it's still a really new and novel experience to be embedded in a community in a country like Nepal. And they also say that it gives them insights into what their students who are from diverse backgrounds experience when they come into their institutions. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The college itself, we've been delivering that aren't of their curriculum, but which they request us to deliver because they see as important, even though it's not priority within the education system over there. They've identified it as a priority. And the two things that we focus on are occupational health and safety, which of course all of the people who are teaching vocational education have got a fairly good background in, and we teach first aid. And first aid is something that really isn't done at a community level at all in Nepal. And so we've had a great success teaching those two content areas because it's something that, is requested by them and required by them. I think because of that, we've also been able to develop some really great community relationships. And I think that, for me, is one of the strengths of the program. We've had a couple of people who have been nurse educators. So they teach enrolled nursing here at TAFE in Australia, and they went over there. Not only did they get to help with, some of the setup of the new program in Sinduli, but they also spent a few days at the local community hospital. So they kind of, we did more than just visit an institution. We actually kind of went into the local economy, into the local community. And that was the same thing with what we've been trying to do with everybody. So if there's someone who has a specialist area, then we try and embed them somewhere in the community. We've had plumbers going to the local council to talk to the to the local developers. We've had waste management people going to the tip. We've had all sorts of stuff that might sound like it's a bit of a little bit trivial, but when that's your area of expertise, to be able to see how it happens in another country and to be able to actually interact with specialists in that area, in that country, is a really great learning experience. I'm not sure what else I could say. I would recommend that if any staff have an opportunity to get involved in an international placement, I would jump at it every time, because it's a chunk out of your year. It's these particular trips are 3 weeks, but it's just, there's always so much more that I get out of it than what I think I put in. But I'd be really happy to talk to anybody who's interested in setting up a similar program. And thank you, CSU, for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wendy. I think, again, for me, your program kind of epitomizes this idea of service learning, learning through the service of others. And as you say, you're really taking people in this particular program, but matching them up in a way, once they get into that local community, that kind of recognizes the expertise and the prior experiences that they're already bringing. And to be able to see how systems of learning work in a different cultural context, but also probably in a lower resource setting than we're used to. It just makes you appreciate, but also think about how we can do things differently and better and improve what we have. So thank you for sharing that wonderful story behind the award. It's fantastic to hear from you. All righty, so now we will have much more opportunity at the end again to talk to Wendy and Anna and the other two about their work. So we'll move on now, and I believe Caroline is next. Yes, I was right. So Caroline, again, from the School of Allied Health, Exercise and Sports Science, really looking forward to hearing about your work and hearing about sort of where the current state, but also potentially where this could go next. So I'm going to share my one slide and then over to you, Caroline. Again, please do take a little bit of time. You don't have to rush through.
Thank you, Koshila, and thanks for the invitation to present. And this is on behalf of a team, and I'm glad to see that I can at least acknowledge one of the members of the team here, Kate Melville, who's a key player in this project. So thanks, Kate, for coming along today, but the team had 10 people in, and this award was from last year. It was a project that we started in 2020, and it's about a podiatry clinic that has been developed at Westside Community Centre. And this is a really unique project because this community centre is a very sort of unique feature in West Albury. It's been established for many years, and it's a hub for the local community. The community centre provides a lot of other services there, health and social services. And the opportunity came up actually on the suggestion of one of our students who volunteered at the centre and said, you know, it'd be great to put a podiatry clinic there. And from that tiny little seed, something really amazing has grown out of this community centre. So we were funded by Three Rivers Department of Rural Health to set up the clinic for half a day a week. Kate is our clinical educator, podiatry clinical educator, who works with the students and supervises students. And it was just half a day a week to start with, but that pilot project was so successful that we were able then to go to Murray Primary Health Network, who then could see the value in it and funded us $30,000 for the year 22 to 23. And to provide a service which is 1 day a week. And we are now in our second year of funding. So in terms of proving success, absolutely evident through the backing with Murray Primary Health Network. So the clients come to this podiatry clinic, and the client numbers are growing. The students are third and fourth year students. They will go on a roster basis to work with Kate on a daily basis. And the real key to the success here is Kate as a consistent clinical educator, and the students are rostered through. They get more than one opportunity to go. And it's really building on the relationship that the students develop with Kate, develop with the clients, and the trust that is built in this space that is considered to be a very culturally safe space. So we have First Nations clients that come in, non-Indigenous clients that come in here. If they didn't get their podiatry service here, they probably would not be accessing a podiatry service. So it's really key in terms of that health and well-being. So we've had a few opportunities to promote this project. The report that's published, the project report that's published, is available via Crow, and that's been accessed quite a few times, which is lovely to see. We have to celebrate Kate's connection with the ABC. That picture in the middle where Jane, the lady with the orange top there, she's our community advocate, and Kate and Jane and the managers at Westside did this really fabulous ABC report that was published. And then next week, I get to go to Coogee Beach, which is very exciting, which is the Rural Allied Health Conference, to talk about this project up there. So in terms of dissemination, we really take every opportunity we can to get the message out there. The benefits to community are huge. As I said, if they didn't get their podiatry service here, they may not access podiatry anywhere else. The benefits to the students are clear in terms of understanding what culturally responsive practice means in practice. We have a lot of cultural capabilities built into our podiatry curriculum, but working with Kate, with clients, really lets students understand what cultural safety means in practice. And then if you look at the spill out effect of this, there's a little picture there of Kirsty, who's with us today. Kirsty, Kate and myself were at the NAIDOC event. So this collaboration has enabled us to then look at other opportunities to engage with the community. So NAIDOC was one event we were participating in this year. And then Jindiamana Sports Carnival was a fantastic event in Albury, and we took the students along, and we took students from different disciplines too. So Koshila, you said, how could this grow? Well, there is opportunity at Westside to expand other service provision, and certainly the conversations are happening at the moment around social work students placements, and there's a huge need for oral health too. So those conversations are happening sort of through Three Rivers. For us, it's to make sure that we are able to meet the contract for Murray Primary Health Network because we see that's an opportunity for continued funding, continued placements for our students. And then the opportunity to evaluate this service. We had a recent meeting, and the suggestion, I think, from Kate and Tracy as one of the managers was to collect people's stories. So the client's stories, the student stories, our stories as different stakeholders. And I think that would really be exciting as a formalised project with ethics approval to project this work. And just, I think the whole experience for me, this is one of the things I'm most passionate about. And so taking something from the teaching space, taking it out into community is absolutely fulfilling. And I think when I was listening to Wendy talking, that was the same thing that I was getting through there. So yeah, look, I could talk for a lot. I've got I'm going to be talking about it next week. It's really not hard to talk about. I'm sure Kate would want to add more, but thanks for the opportunity to bring it here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caroline. That's, again, so amazing to hear the story, but also to see the pictures and kind of hear the voices behind this work that, you know, was awarded last year. And again, I've taken away this idea, you know, students as not just as service providers, but, you know, interprofessional team members, and the kind of how empowering that is for them to be situated in an authentic way and provide that service. And as you said, to widen access to healthcare for a community that really needs it. And I think for me, one of the things that you just talked about, which was really nice, is about how you're bringing the worlds of curriculum and teaching and the worlds of scholarship together. So, you know, we're busy doing our teaching, we're busy doing our curriculum work. And I think where you're going with this project is very much to apply that scholarship lens to this and say, how can this also be a space in which we start to create scholarship and kind of get the message out. So wonderful to hear from you. And I'm hoping that we'll have a nice conversation following this presentation. So thank you, Caroline and team.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, we have one more presentation. So I am going to welcome Associate Professor Ashad Kabir. Ashad is an Associate Professor in Computing. And Ashad, we are looking forward to hearing from you about the work that you've done and the work that you keep continuing to do, and sort of you'll get some reflections from you about where this might go to next. So over to you, Ashad, and I will bring up your slide there. Thank you.
Thank you, Koshila. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Koshila, for your introduction and having me here. Hello, everyone. It's a great privilege to be here. First of all, I would like to thank faculty to recognize my work with this award. And I also want to acknowledge enormous support I received from my head of the school and all wonderful colleagues related to this work. So today, I will share my journey of enhancing student experience and success through innovation. So, as Carolina introduced, I am Ashad, an Associate Professor of Computer Science with the School of Computing, Mathematics and Engineering. So my story begins in 2018, when I took on the challenge of improving the learning experience in ITC 322 data structure subject. It is a third-year subject in the Bachelor's in Computer Science program. So this subject is highly analytical and algorithmic and requiring a strong foundation in programming language for understanding. So that makes it a challenge for the average student. At that time, my student experience survey score for that subject was 72%, and the progression rate was around 74%. And I saw that as an opportunity for growth and innovation in my teaching methods. I embarked on a journey of deep reflection to find ways to enhance student engagement and learning outcomes. So drawing upon extensive research that highlighted the advantages of competition-based learning, I introduced HackerRank, which is a widely recognized coding and assessment platform, into my subject. So HackerRank is primarily used by companies or industries for hiring computer programmers, as well as running international programming competition. But I believed it could have a profound impact on education as well. So I created weekly programming challenges related to the subject topics in the HackerRank as for students to compete against each other in that environment. So this approach fostered an online collaborative environment where my students compete against each other, not just for grades, but also for the sheer joy of learning and mastery. And one of the most significant advantages of using HackerRank was its ability to automatically evaluate student submissions against predefined test cases. So that provided real-time feedback to my students and ranked them on leaderboard. So this innovative approach led to remarkable improvements in my SOS score as shown in figure 2, as you can see on the slide. So over the time, the SOS score for the subject has increased from 72% to an impressive 98% in 2023. And the progression rate for the subject also increased from 74% to 94%. So this approach significantly enhanced the student learning experience as evidenced by the comments from students. Few of the comments are listed on the slide, as you can see, and all the comments from hundreds of comments from last few years illustrated in the word cloud in figure 1. So my pioneering use of HackerRank for teaching fosters engaging and effective learning environment. Moreover, my presentation at the school symposium and U-Imaging conference has inspired fellow academics to embrace these innovative teaching methods in their own subject deliveries. And also, this also gives me opportunity for students to take further in their study and in real world as well. So what I usually encourage students, the good students from the subject, to take them to the International Computer Programming Competition. That is the worldwide competition. It happens every year. So I've been leading those students and training them since last 2018. And last year and year before, one of the team of that from CSU actually ranked top 14% in the world and top 7 in the Australia. And this also been covered in the CSU news, and great appreciation from the executive dean and head of the school. So, and those students who completed these subjects and finally graduated, currently working in the very top companies in Australia as well, around for their success, that also shows their success. So I hope this experience can serve as an inspiration to all of us as we strive to create engaging and inspiring learning environments. Thank you.
Wonderful.
For your attention.
Wonderful, Ashad. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I think, again, another really great example of how we can bring the worlds of learning and the world of working closer together. So in your case, bringing something that's an industry-based program and industry-based training into the university, into that learning space, while I guess in the sense of what Caroline and Wendy did were to take the students into that world. So again, very different examples, but all based on this idea of setting students up for success in their learning, but also as they venture into the world of work. And I think, Ashad, in your presentation as well, it was kind of coming back full circle to where Ana started from, in that sense of saying, how do we support students to be successful in subject areas that maybe they're not that comfortable with, or they feel a sense of fear about. So when we think about our STEM subjects, the science subjects, there can be that sense of fear. So I think it was really nice that Ana started talking about that in her presentation, and you've kind of brought us full circle. So now it is time for the conversation to happen. I know there's lots on the chat there, which I haven't been checking because I really wanted to listen to what all of you had to say, but I'm going to now open this up for a bit of a conversation, a bit of a chat around what you've been noticing and observing. And so I ask you to please put your hands up and maybe volunteer some commentary while I check the chat, and I can pick some questions up from there as well. So who wants to lead us off into that conversation? Can I have a show of hands? So everyone's loving the creative presentations. You're all an inspiration. What a great way to start the week, I would say. Wonderful. Do we have any commentary from people who want to jump into while I'm checking the chat to ask some questions about from the team? If no, oh, Wendy, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that, you know, it's these things don't happen in isolation, and usually there's, you know, a team of people behind these successes. You know, I guess in my case, you know, I've got a supportive head of school and a supportive course director, and you know, it really is not about one person's achievement so much as about one person stepping forward to lead a project that's a group achievement. So I just wanted to also say that.
Absolutely, Wendy, such a great point that it takes a village to raise a student, probably is what you're saying. So I do appreciate that. And here we are as a village, learning with each other, sharing with each other, understanding about how we can kind of talk to each other around the work that we're doing and to kind of extend that work. Caroline, any reflections from you?
Yeah, I think just picking up on what Wendy said, absolutely, it's a team effort, and yes, it does require the leadership, but I think what we've realized is that, and to borrow a phrase from Kate, it's the right people in the right place and the right time. You know, that you have to have the network, or you have to build the network to build the relationship, and it takes time. It's sticking at it too. Like, you know, if we started this in 2020 and taking a long-term view of it, because I think sometimes when we do our subject evaluations, it's a session, bang, evaluation, move on, and it's quite short-term. So it's sitting back and looking at it as a long-term project and how it might evolve over time, and just being open about how it might grow.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you particularly demonstrated that in the way you talked about how the project has evolved. So you're in your second year of being funded, but now you're thinking about how to kind of put that scholarship lens on it and to kind of take it to that next level. So once again, having that longitudinal view and having a clear sense of the phases of maturation of the work that we do, I think is absolutely such a great point. I'll just go back into the chat and see if there is any other commentary here. Nothing more. I might then take the chair's prerogative and perhaps ask a question of Ana, and probably Ashad can also contribute to this. So Ana, I guess you really talked about this idea about teaching them how to fail and teaching them that it's okay to fail, and that what matters is what we learn from that failure and how we learn and how we kind of build on to the next thing. Can I get you to maybe give us some commentary around what that looks like within your practice and sort of the things you might be doing in that space?
Yeah, I think particularly if you're working or if you're learning or applying science and technology, I think failure is a great part of it. Sometimes you just get to an answer by trialing a lot of different alternatives. So you can't really get it right the first time. And I suppose it goes like that for a lot of things in life as well. It's just, of course, they come to our subjects and they really want to pass. And the subject in itself is just a big hurdle because it sort of like makes them engage in a thinking process and an analytical process that sometimes it has been dormant for a couple of years, depending on their experience have been in high school, for example, or maybe if they're mature age students, it's been a long time since they had to engage in that sort of analytical, logical thinking. So you need to pull them back to that willingness to engage first, and then if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. We have this joke when we work, software is not going to explode. So you just, you can press buttons, it's not going to explode. So it's fine. I think the reason why I tackle that is because I found it, and this is only by personal observation, that sometimes if you do spend time with them, guiding them, and it does start by really being a guided process, almost like, when you click here, this is what happens. And you might need to repeat that a couple of times. But then after a while, when things start showing up in the screen, so to speak, they sort of like go like, oh, okay, I can actually do this. And they all go in different directions. But I suppose they start losing their fear about nobody's going to judge them because everyone is having the same issues. And then through that process, they become a bit familiar with the process of failure. They learn from that, and they actually succeed to do the assessments, which is really, I mean, it's been really interesting for me. Because I suppose when I started teaching the subject, I had these grand ideas about what teaching geospatial science was going to be like. You know, I imagined that I was going to show them all these things that I do in research, and they get really I'm so enthusiastic about it. And then you sort of like need to readjust those expectations to people do not see the world the same way you see it. But also working with that, I think there's a lot of potential in working with the students that we work, because they really want to do better. And they also, something that is really important is that we have to prepare them from what is coming ahead in their jobs. And there's no way, particularly with my discipline, and I think Ashad probably can say the same, these days working with geospatial science and technology, it's pretty much the bread and butter of the jobs that the students that come to these degrees that I teach, they're going to use it. So you might as well just embrace this safe space at uni where you're still allowed to fail and you're still allowed to get it wrong, to then get it right, to then later on be able to practice correctly. So I suppose that's my motivation to keep on doing it. And sort of like picking up on what Wendy and Caroline said, the fact that we work every day with an immense group of people that inspire you in so many ways. I still think that that message does not come across that much, particularly I think in my school. You know, I think maybe I'm completely wrong, but I still feel that we don't showcase the things that we do with our subjects so much. I don't know why, but I think there's incredible things happening at CSU that would have a stand at international level, and we could definitely be a voice to how education is done in very challenging environments. And I always get surprised how come this doesn't come out that often. But anyway, I hope now with the Teaching Academy, we do have an opportunity to change that effectively. Thanks.
And what wise words, but also what a great segue into the role of the Teaching Academy. If I can take a moment to say what the Teaching Academy is, it is very much an enabler for these stories to be told, but also for these stories to be told in a way that contributes to scholarship, for example, that contributes to people's own personal trajectories, the trajectories and the successes of their team. So that is what the Teaching Academy is here for, is to support all of you in kind of bringing those stories together, but even before then, to really understand kind of our values as educators, and then to kind of think about how we enact that within our own teaching, and then to think about how we bring that together in meaningful ways for our students, and think about how we evaluate. So I'm very excited just being here and hearing these stories and thinking about the possibilities. That's the word that comes to my mind. There are so many possibilities, and I think I look forward to working with all of you in some way or another to kind of showcase those stories and to think about where to next. So watch this space. So I'm going to go back to the chat again and see if there are things that are coming in here. So Wendy is saying learning to fail is a great concept. Absolutely. Kate, there's a comment here. Would you like to speak to that, Kate, rather than me reading it out? Kate is still here.
We've got I don't know how I describe her. I see her as a friend. She's a student at another university doing a health course, and she's been watching what we've been doing with Westside, and also the collaboration between Charles Sturt and AWAS with the students learning about chronic disease and things. She went back to her uni and said, you know what, you should talk to Charles Sturt, because what they're doing with their students is heaps better than what we're doing with our students. Get them in the room, learn from them, roll it out at our end, because we're not doing it anywhere near as well as they are. And it makes me feel happy. And Anna, you talk about people not singing your praises. Podiatry is one of the things that no one really thinks about. And to me, we're the center of the universe with people's health. And I know that that's sort of a bit of an inflated opinion, but it gets talked about at our end, how often the pods know more about what's going on with patients than the doctors do. So to have some cross collaboration and unfortunately with us, is that most of us are run off our feet with patients, and you don't get us in a room with other professionals to have the interdisciplinary collaboration. So to hear from someone that's doing a course that's thought of much more highly than podiatry say we should be doing what they're doing made me pretty happy. Poor Caroline, she gets phone calls from me about this stuff, and I think I drive her a bit batty. But what this Westside thing's just been a joy to be part of.
Yeah. And such wonderful words too, Kate, about seizing those opportunities, isn't it? And kind of being in for the long game, almost, in the sense of really building a much more longitudinal trajectory in this space. Now, was there somebody else who had their hand up or wanted to make a quick comment?
No, I was just going to support Kate. Said her enthusiasm is infectious. Kate, can I share your long-term goal, Kate, that you want to get us on Australian Story? That's her mission.
I think that people are too often unheard, and as with the presentation that we did before with Kirsty, being able to actually say their stories and feel as though they're recognised is important. And there's no point having it in a written form for a lot of the people that are accessing Westside. I'm all guns blazing about going on TV. Not that I want to be on TV. I want our people to be on TV.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right, everyone. So I'm just looking at the time now. So we have lots of, we had 4 great presentations, and it was a privilege and a pleasure to hear from you. So thank you to Ana, Wendy, Caroline, and Ashad for coming along, sharing your story, sharing your reflections about the work that you're doing, but also where to next. And I think, we had such a great conversation as well about drawing on some of those similarities, the opportunities for celebrating kind of the people behind the work, the collaborations that we need within CSU, Charles Sturt University, but also potentially outside. And I guess also a reminder that there are many ways to get the message out, to get the story out. So we really need to be quite creative in our efforts as well as educators to have that story heard. So I am going to bring day 1 to a close now. That is it. You've been with, most of you have been with us since the morning. I hope you found it enjoyable, that you've really had an opportunity to reflect on what other colleagues are doing. I hope you have lots of questions and commentary and reflections on what you've seen and heard, and have at least a plan to reach out to one other person you might have heard from today about the work that they might be doing or an idea that they've shared. I'm going to also ask you please to give us some feedback, because as the CS EdX organizing team, as the Teaching Academy, we need to hear from you about how we can support this experience, how we can make this experience better for next time. So we want to hear from you. So please take a moment to give us some feedback. And I believe that there will be a little link I'll put into the chat as well, so that you can access that. But thank you so much for everyone for taking part in day 1. I think it's just been so fabulous to hear from you. So I look forward to day 2. So day 2 is tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we'll hear from our keynote speaker, Associate Professor Guy Curtis. So that's going to be a really interesting presentation around academic misconduct and academic integrity. Then, of course, we have our Learning Management System Masterclass, where we hear the insights from our early adopters. So that's going to be a good one, because it kind of gives some of us who may not have engaged as much with Brightspace insider peek into what's going on in that space and how we can make it work for our students, how we can make it work for us. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, of course, we have in the afternoon the student panel with Professor Graham Brown. So that is also going to be fabulous because it's a conversation between the students and Graham on all things learning and teaching. So once again, we have a diverse panel of students coming along who've really, I think, bravely said, yep, I'm ready to have this conversation. I want to share, what my learning and assessment experience been like. I want to share some tips for other people who might be starting out at university. I want to share some of my reflections around what sort of helps me connect with my peers and learn with them and from them and about them. So I hope I'll see some of you there at that session as well. But for now, thank you for being part of this amazing conversation this morning, and we will see you tomorrow. So take care, everyone.